Today I want to talk to you about healing requires our obedience. You know, a lot of times we say we want healing and we pray for healing, but then we go out and do what we want to do instead of what we should be doing. And then we don't get healed and we think, it's God's fault. He didn't heal me. Why won't he help me? Well, you know, might be something there. You know, there's examples in the Bible, stern examples of healing and obedience. I'm going to read one here right now. We're going to go to 2 Kings 5:1, son, and this is all going to be on the board. Now, Naaman, commander of the army of the king of Syria, was a great and honorable man in the eyes of his master, because by him the Lord had given him victory to Syria. He was also a mighty man of valor. The Bible says, but a leper. All those wonderful things, but a leper. That but got in there, didn't it? We all have a but that's a blemish to our identity, don't we? Everything's okay, but it's all there. We all have that. Then the great men of valor in the Bible were no different. They had that but too. But our God is a conqueror of any of the buts. The buts can be eliminated. There is no but in God's eyes. He doesn't say, I will heal you, but I don't feel like it. I will heal you, but I can't do it today. There is no buts in God's life. We have the problem with the buts. The but that we try to hide from everyone else. We all have a but we try to hide, right? The but that jeopardizes our positive outlook on ourselves. The but that says, I have it all, yet I still lack something. Do you ever feel blessed, but they're just that one thing is just not quite right? Sometimes God will send you help in ways that you never would expect it. When we try to decide how, where, and with whom God will help us, we put ourselves in God's place and position. And we are not Him. We'll never be able to do what God can do as well as God can do it. When we do it, there's always a but involved. When He does it, it's handled. Now we see that Naaman, with his healing, he was a great mighty man of valor, but a leper. There was only one thing that could take that but out of his life. That was healing of his leprosy, wasn't it? Another medal, another honor, another certificate on the wall, another promotion. All those things would not eliminate that but, would they? And they won't for us either. We think they will. If I could just get a bigger house, if I had a car, if my car was newer, if my husband would get off his butt and go get a job, you know, all these things that we think in our lives would make the difference. But the truth is, it's the but in our personal life is where the problem is. It's not promotion. It's not in any of that. The first step to disobedience is when we attempt to do things the way we want to instead of following the rules. God will a lot of times use the most insignificant people to bring forth His glory and grandeur to you to receive your healing and your answered prayer. Sometimes we think we need a check from the lottery company or from the lottery to make a significant difference in our life, when the truth is we still got that but we need to deal with. In 2 Kings 5:2-4, and the Syrians had gone out on raids and had brought back a captive young girl from the land of Israel. She waited on Naaman's wife. She became Naaman's wife's slave servant. So she's a slave, okay? You can't get more insignificant than a slave servant, okay? This is a very much nobody. And you would think that a slave servant has no power in her words. When God's got your lips, I promise you, kings will listen. Don't think you're insignificant. I promise you that. Then she said to her mistress, if only my master were with the prophet who is in Samaria, for he would heal him of his leprosy. He has never heard that before. That's a new one. Healing of leprosy, that's never happened. Not in those days. In 2 Kings 5:2-4, I'm going to continue. And Naaman went on and told his master, the king of Syria, his master, saying, thus and thus said the girl who is from the land of Israel. He's just repeating what the girl said to his wife. As we see here, God used an insignificant slave girl to bring hope to Naaman. When you hit bottom is when you're ready to listen, when you're really ready to listen. And you'll hear the most insignificant people. And we also see Naaman humbling himself enough to listen to a slave girl, wasn't he? Her words made it straight to the king, didn't they? You know why? She spoke faith. She spoke obedience. 2 Kings 5:5. Then the king of Syria, also acting on a slave girl, his words, this little insignificant lady, go now and I will send a letter to the king of Israel. Now let's see what the king of Israel had to say about this letter he received. Let's put ourselves in this spot. Someone sends you someone with leprosy 3,000 years ago, and a letter and tells you to heal him. Because some slave girl said it could be done. Now what are you thinking as the king? Let's see what his mindset is here. 2 Kings 5, 6, and 7. Then he brought the letter to the king of Israel, which said, now be advised, when this letter comes to you, that I have sent Naaman my servant to you, that you may heal him of leprosy. And it happened. When the king of Israel read the letter, that he tore his clothes and said, am I God to kill and make alive, that this man sends a man to me to heal him of leprosy? Therefore, please consider and see how he seeks to quarrel with me. As we can see here, the king of Israel is very frustrated over the request. He knows that no one has never been healed of leprosy. He thinks it's a trick. But what he doesn't know is that the God of Israel is working out his plan and getting ready to show his glory and mercy. You know, as things, we get right to the edge and things seem to be as bad as they can get. What we don't know is that the God of Israel is fixing to show his glory and mercy on our lives. We don't see that next step. We get lost in where we're at right now, and we get all disobedient, disgruntled. It's not going to happen. I've hit bottom. They're inches from they're taking my house, or whatever's wrong. We don't see. What we don't know is the God of Israel is right there. Our God, the God of Jesus, the God of Abraham, the God of Moses, is right there, ready to make his move on our life. Now, how would you like to back out at that point when God's ready to move? And you run it. I remember one time when I was a kid, I was not going to deny that I had a few issues. I wasn't the best kid. I had a lot of pull on the dark side, as well as more pull on the dark side, the good side, because the dark side were kids usually more interesting. I mean, you don't see the video games today. They don't make all holiness and lovey-dovey, they're killing and everything else. It's always the dark side that's the most interesting. But I remember that my grandfather, they were poor people, but my aunt had bought them a newer car. And what I didn't know was he was on the edge of giving me his old car, which would have been just fine for me. I guarantee you. I didn't care what it was. I just wanted to be wrong. So I didn't know this. Right on the day he was going to give it to me, I went out and did something stupid and made him knew not to give me a car ever. You see, so here I am. I ruined my blessing, didn't I? You see? And this is how it is with God. Right on the edge of my blessing, I had to go out and mess it up. So it is. But probably I didn't need that car anyway. I would probably just killed myself or somebody else. But as we can see here, everybody is at their wits' end. We're not just talking about, we got two kingdoms on the edge of all kinds of catastrophic events over these words of this slave girl, right? the king of Israel, he just doesn't know what to do. Number one, Naaman is so desperate, he's listening to a slave girl about a prophet in a foreign land, right? Number two, the king of Syria probably believes that this won't work, but because of who requested it, he honors the request, his finest general, right? Number three, the king of Israel thinks it's a trick to create a problem between the two countries. This healing has turned into a diplomatic nightmare. This thing could go bad in a lot of ways, couldn't it? Sure could. Think about the slave girl. What will happen to her if this doesn't work for her master Naaman? Who's going to take the worst part of it? That little girl, right? That lonely, separated from her family slave girl. Just like one of our little girls, our daughters or grandchildren, separated, stolen, kidnapped, and a slave. Already lost everything else. She stands to lose everything, doesn't she? She'll probably be put to death. I believe in my heart that this will only happen because God honors the obedient and the faithful, and this girl is both. I believe that her words is what kicked this whole thing off. And she spoke faith. I believe God acted on her faith and obedience. She put it all on the line for the God of Israel, didn't she? She put everything on the line, and I believe this whole testament that we're reading in the Bible is based on her putting everything on the line by her faith in God when everything was against her. Can you imagine her discomfort? She was a recently captured slave. She had many reasons to be bitter at God and disobedient. She stood fast in her faith no matter what. She lost her mama, her brothers and sisters, her daddy, grandparents. She lost her home, everything she knew. In a foreign country, people worshiping foreign gods, a slave in a house. She was taken to a foreign land away from all she loved and knew as a captive slave. But because of her faith, just like Joseph, God used this poor little girl in a mighty way, didn't he? What complaints do you come up with to doubt, be bitter, and be disobedient to God in your journey? Has anyone ever been bitter to God about something? I have. Is it greater than this young girl's tragedy? Is anything we've been through greater than what she's been through? I believe God rewards the obedient and the faithful when they have the least reason to be faithful. You see that? When they have the least reason, just like her. She has the least reason to be faithful. She could blame God for all that's going on in her life, couldn't she? But she didn't. She put God up. She praised God. She put major life and death faith in God. I mean, when things get ugly and desperate, that's when our obedience and faith shines to God. It's not when everything's wonderful and the sun's shining and you just got a raise and you got approved for that new car, that new house, your child just graduated. That's not the time that God sees our faith shine. That's the reward of our faith shining. The time that God sees our faith shine, then we have no reason to have it. That's when He knows who we are with Him. When our world just came to an end, but we're still faithful. And we still speak faith. And we still speak belief. Just like this little girl did. And this little girl lived. This is not a story. This was a living, breathing human being this happened to. The king of Israel was so upset that he tore his clothes in grief. Let's see how God takes control of this situation. The news of the king tearing his clothes spread. Then came along Elisha, an esteemed prophet in Israel, mentee of Elijah. Remember, Elijah was Elisha's mentor. He tells the king, calm down and send the leper to him. Just send him to me. Take it easy. Got this. Well, that was some good news, I promise you. In 2 Kings 5, 9, and 10. Then Naaman went with his horses and chariots, and he stood at the door of Elisha's house. And Elisha sent a messenger to him, saying, Go and wash in the Jordan 7 times, and your flesh shall be restored to you, and you shall be clean. Now you would think that Naaman would be delighted with this recommendation, right? You'd think so, right? Oh no, this is a very prideful man. He's expecting a lot more than that. But he wasn't. He was furious. You see, he had his own thoughts of how and what Elisha would do to heal him. He also had his pride all worked up. You understand that? He thought there was going to be a speech, a parade, something grandeur. You know, rockets going off, something. But no, just go down this muddy river and wash yourself 7 times and take care of it. He wouldn't even come out of the house and talk to him. When Naaman finally encountered Elisha with his entourage of men and gifts, he expected Elisha to simply wave his hands and call the name of the Lord in a face-to-face situation to take away the leprosy. Instead, Elisha asked him to do something that defied all logic, trashed his explanations, and seemed ridiculous, which was to go and dunk himself 7 times in the Jordan. At first, Naaman refused to do what Elisha asked him, but he finally did it, and after some encouragement from his men. His men said, would you be, if he asked you to do something grandeur and heroic and make you proud, would you go do it? Well, yeah. Well, what's the difference? He even complained about the river he was ordered to go, and he wondered why he couldn't dunk himself in one of his rivers at home that was cleaner, better, bigger rivers. Why couldn't he do it? You see, God had to humble this man and make him obedient before he would heal him. You see that? He had to bring him down to his knees and let him know God is God and whose God is God. He had to tear down his authority and pride and make him obedient. God had to show Naaman and his men who's in charge. 2 Kings 5:14. So he went down and dipped himself 7 times in the Jordan, according to the saying of the man of God, and his flesh was restored like the flesh of a little child, and he was clean. That was a eureka moment there. The but in his life was removed by God alone, by God's way, not Naaman's. The but was removed. He was finally complete, wasn't he? Naaman's healing was not in the water. It was in his obedience to God's word, wasn't it? Naaman's healing wasn't in the show of waving in hands and the calling out of God with an eloquent speech, was it? His healing was connected to his obedience to God only his obedience to God. Nothing else mattered. It was his obedience to God. Naaman was right. He could have dunked himself in any river, but they wouldn't have healed him, would they? His healing was in his obedience to God only. We get some help back here. Sister's trying to get in. Hi, sister. And here we have a revelation that our healing, too, can be received in our obedience to God only. You see that? Think about that. Your healing's not in anything. Your healing's in your obedience. And you're listening to God, doing what God says. That's where your healing is. It's not on how long you can stay on your knees. It's not on what mountain you can climb. It's none of these things. It's an obedience to God. No obedience, no healing. You want the healing, you get obedient. What would Naaman got if he didn't get, without his healing? If he wasn't obedient, he went to another river, he'd have got nothing, right? Because he wasn't obedient. Would he blame God for it? Sure. Sure he would have. But the reason he wouldn't have been healed is because he was not obedient. Even when it goes against all common sense and understanding, even when we think it would make us look silly and embarrass us and hurts our pride, We should be obedient to God. Don't follow the crowd, follow God. God doesn't just see us as disobedient, He sees us as having no respect for Him. You see that? It's not just obedience, it's respect we should have for God. Do you see that? God knows that if you respect somebody enough, you will listen to what they say